Hello, GLG 201 students. My name is Frankie Gargiulo, and today I'll be representing Team 20 in our first video project on how the Earth works. Our group decided to do our research on Florence Bascom. She was the second ever woman to earn her PhD in geology and first woman to do so at Johns Hopkins University here in the United States. She was born in the year 1862, making her one of the first influential women for not only geology, but for women's rights to education as well. Her career focused on teaching others about geology and how the world works. She also had individual research opportunities mapping the crystalline rock formations in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland. She worked in the education system as an educator herself at the Universities of Ohio State and Bryn Mawr College. She specialized in petrology, where she studied and taught how present rocks were formed. Being a university educator in geology, she was required to have her master's degree. However, she would eventually keep going to school and acquire her doctorate in the field. Her experiences out of the classroom studying the crystalline structures did not require her master's or PhD. This position could be obtained by entry-level careers. However, because of her education background, her research did not equate to an entry-level position. This class has helped us pursue a career in education by teaching us what geology is and how the Earth works. Even if this is your first geology class ever, it is still giving you accurate information that you can pass along to others that don't know about the subject. Now, to be a university instructor in geology, you'll need quite a bit more education in the field, but everyone has to start somewhere. Florence Bascom was influential by not only being one of the first women to study geology, but the research she did had huge impacts on the geological community at the time and even now, almost a century later. During her 40-year tenure, she was among the first geologists to survey and map the geologic provinces of the North Atlantic and Appalachian region, and she did this all by hand, yet still recorded incredibly accurate data on her maps. Her work was identifying various rock structures formed by specifically acidic volcanoes in these regions. She helped develop a way to research and identify these types of rocks. In accordance, she also studied different erosion cycles. She found information on erosion cycles, rate of occurrence, and how to identify these. She was able to identify 6 more cycles than the original 3 that were in place. Working with the USGS, she applied her knowledge of these cycles to study the different regions talked about before. While not all her studies were related to the topics we've discussed in class thus far, she was an influence in geological mapping, which is related to topographic mapping. We learned how to read and understand how topographic maps work. She designed and mapped the geological regions of the North Atlantic and Appalachians. In this class, we have also learned about how volcanoes are formed, and this knowledge can help us to understand how the volcanic rock that Bascom studied came to be in the first place. The information we have learned about mountains and volcanoes building and topographic mapping will serve as a base for all of the future studies one will encounter on a path towards becoming a geologist. Her discoveries were very important to the geological community to understanding the Earth in these areas and other areas mapped in the future. Another huge part of her journey was becoming the first woman to work for the U.S. Geological Survey, in which her work paved the way for future scientists and maybe even some of you who are pursuing a career with geology in mind. Geology is a very interesting and important subject in the field of science. Bascom's work with mapping geological provinces, discovering rock types and rock erosion, and the help with identifying how mountains were formed were huge advances in the field. Without her contribution to this science, we would not be where we are today. Her findings changed the course of history and paved the way for how geologists think in the 21st century. All of her contributions are still being used today to advance our understanding of geology. Thank you.